Stop everything right now because what just happened in Congress is absolutely insane. Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's partner in crime who's serving 20 years for sex trafficking minors, just made the most brazen deal offer in political history. She refused to answer a single question from the House Oversight Committee, but her lawyer dropped a bombshell that has Washington in complete chaos. Number 1, Maxwell's attorney told Congress she will testify that both Donald Trump and Bill Clinton are completely innocent of any wrongdoing with Epstein, but only if Trump pardons her and sets her free. Number 2, she pleaded the fifth to every single question, refused to cooperate at all, and is literally holding her testimony hostage in exchange for clemency. And number 3, this gets even crazier. Republicans and Democrats are united in outrage. Senator Jacky Rosen just introduced a resolution to block any pardon, but Trump won't rule it out. He keeps saying he hasn't thought about it, which means he's definitely thinking about it. Right now, Maxwell is sitting in a cushy federal prison camp in Texas after mysteriously being moved from maximum security. She's campaigning for her freedom by offering to clear the president's name, and Congress is exploding over what looks like the most corrupt quid pro quo deal ever. Stay with me because this is absolutely bonkers. Let's start with what happened Monday, February 9th. The House Oversight Committee, led by Republican Chairman James Comer, wanted to question Ghislaine Maxwell about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation. They set up a virtual deposition from the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, where Maxwell is serving her 20-year sentence. Everyone wanted to know who else was involved, who helped Epstein traffic minors, who visited his island, who knew what was happening. But Maxwell had other plans. The video shows her appearing on screen, and the moment Chairman Comer starts asking questions, Maxwell invokes her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. She refused to answer a single question, not one. Every question, Fifth Amendment. Who helped Epstein? Fifth. Did you facilitate trafficking? Fifth. Who visited the island? Fifth. For the entire deposition, she sat there and said nothing. Now here's where it gets wild. Her attorney, David Oscar Marcus, made a statement during the deposition and then posted it on X, and I'm going to read you exactly what he said because you won't believe this. Quote, "If this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there is a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump." He continued, "Only she can provide the complete account. Some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to that explanation." Let that sink in. Maxwell is saying, I know everything about Epstein's operation. I can clear Trump's name. I can clear Clinton's name. I can tell you who's guilty and who's not, but I'm not saying a word unless Trump sets me free. This is extortion. This is holding testimony hostage. This is a convicted sex trafficker trying to blackmail her way out of prison. And the reaction from Congress was immediate and furious. Representative Melanie Stansbury, a Democrat from New Mexico, came out of the deposition and told reporters, "It's very clear she's campaigning for clemency. That's exactly what this is. She's not interested in justice. She's not interested in helping victims. She's interested in getting out of prison, and she thinks she can use what she knows as leverage." But here's what's shocking. Republicans are just as angry. Representative Paulina Luna, who's a Trump supporter, a Republican from Florida, posted on social media, "No clemency. You comply or face punishment. You deserve justice for what you did, you monster." Think about that. Even Republicans who support Trump are saying absolutely not. Do not pardon this woman, Chairman James Comer told reporters after the deposition. "I do not think she should be granted any type of immunity or clemency." House Speaker Mike Johnson said, "It's unconscionable that she's pleading the fifth or trying to make deals. These are Republicans. Trump's own party is saying don't do this." And then Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California who was in the deposition, posted, "Here is my conclusion after sitting through Maxwell's deposition with her refusing to answer a single question about the men who raped underage girls, saying she would only do so for clemency. She must immediately be sent back to the maximum security prison where she belongs." Wait, what? Back to maximum security? What does that mean? Well, here's another crazy part of this story. Maxwell was originally locked up in a tough federal prison in Florida, but last summer, mysteriously, she was transferred to a low-security prison camp in Bryan, Texas. This happened right after she participated in 2 days of interviews with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. 2 days of secret interviews with Trump's number 2 guy at the Justice Department, and then suddenly she gets moved to an easier prison. The prison camp in Texas is described as cushy compared to where she was. It's minimum security, it's more relaxed, and victims' advocates were furious when they found out she got transferred. They said it looked like she was getting special treatment, and now we know why. She was already working on this deal. She was already negotiating with the Trump administration. Now let's talk about Trump's response, because this is where it gets really interesting. When reporters asked Trump about pardoning Maxwell back in November 2025, he said, "I haven't even thought about it. I haven't thought about it for months. Maybe I haven't thought about it at all. I don't rule it in or out. I don't even think about it." Notice what he's doing there. He's not saying no. He's saying he hasn't thought about it, but he's not ruling it out. That's classic Trump. Leave the door open. And when he was asked again in July, he said he hadn't heard her name in so long, and he'd have to take a look at any application for a pardon. After Monday's deposition, the White House was asked again, and they referred reporters to Trump's previous statements. They're not saying yes. They're not saying no. They're just pointing to Trump's non-answer. That means this is still on the table. Trump is seriously considering this. And why wouldn't he? Think about what Maxwell is offering. She's saying, "I will testify under oath that Donald Trump did nothing wrong with Jeffrey Epstein." His name is all over the Epstein files. There are flight logs showing he flew on Epstein's plane. There are photos of them together at parties. There are over 1,000 mentions of Trump in the released documents. If Maxwell gets up and says, "I know for a fact Trump was innocent, he never participated in any crimes," that clears his name. The same goes for Bill Clinton. Clinton's name is also all over the Epstein files. There are claims he visited Epstein's island, flight logs showing he flew on the Lolita Express dozens of times. If Maxwell says Clinton is innocent too, that helps Trump politically, because then he can say, "See, this whole Epstein thing is overblown. Even the woman who was there says nobody did anything wrong." But here's the problem with this entire deal. Maxwell is a convicted liar. A jury found her guilty of sex trafficking. She facilitated the abuse of minors. She recruited young girls for Epstein. She groomed them. She transported them. She participated in their exploitation. Why would anyone believe a single word she says? And more importantly, she could provide this testimony right now. She doesn't need clemency to tell the truth. She can waive her Fifth Amendment rights and answer Congress's questions today. The reason she won't is because the truth probably includes things that incriminate her further or expose other powerful people she's trying to protect. Senator Jacky Rosen saw right through this. On February 12th, just yesterday, she introduced a Senate resolution opposing any clemency for Maxwell. The resolution states it is the sense of the Senate that it opposes any presidential clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell. Rosen said in a statement, "A federal jury found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of participating in horrific crimes involving minors and enabling their abuse by Jeffrey Epstein. She is the last person on earth who should ever be granted clemency by Donald Trump, yet he won't rule it out." She continued, "Trump has a history of pardoning criminals who have committed terrible acts, including those who attacked police officers, which is why I want to make sure the U.S. Senate sends a clear message to the White House that a convicted sex trafficker of minors should not receive any clemency." Now, this resolution is non-binding, meaning it doesn't have the force of law, but it puts senators on the record. Rosen is trying to get a vote so that every senator has to publicly say whether they support or oppose pardoning Maxwell. And if Senate Majority Leader John Thune won't bring it up for a vote, Rosen says she'll try to pass it by unanimous consent. Think about the political calculation Trump is making. On one hand, pardoning Maxwell would be incredibly unpopular. Both parties oppose it. Victims' advocates would go ballistic. The optics of freeing a convicted sex trafficker are absolutely terrible. But on the other hand, if Maxwell really does have information that clears Trump's name in the Epstein scandal, that's valuable to him. Trump has already shown he's willing to issue controversial pardons. He pardoned Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, all the January 6th rioters, over 1,500 people who attacked the Capitol. He pardoned the founder of Binance, who pled guilty to money laundering. He pardoned a former Puerto Rican governor convicted of corruption. He pardoned a former Honduran president convicted of drug trafficking. So pardoning Maxwell wouldn't be that far outside his pattern. But this would be different. This isn't just a controversial pardon. This is a quid pro quo. This is Maxwell explicitly saying, "I will say what you want me to say if you set me free." That's not justice, that's a deal. That's trading testimony for freedom. And legal scholars are debating whether that's even constitutional. The Constitution gives presidents broad clemency power. Trump can pardon anyone convicted of federal crimes, no questions asked. But can he condition a pardon on specific testimony? Can he say, "I'll pardon you, but only if you testify that I'm innocent"? That starts to look like obstruction of justice. That looks like using presidential power to manipulate testimony. And what about the victims? Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent victims who later died, her brother and sister-in-law released a letter blasting Maxwell. They wrote, "Ghislaine Maxwell, you were not a bystander. You were not misled. You were a central, deliberate actor in a system built to find children, isolate them, groom them, and deliver them to abuse." They're right. Maxwell was convicted by a jury. The evidence showed she was Epstein's partner. She helped him traffic girls as young as 14. She participated in their abuse. And now she thinks she can trade information for her freedom? It's disgusting. Here's what's going to happen next. The House Oversight Committee is continuing its investigation. They've got more depositions scheduled through March. Bill Clinton is scheduled to testify. Hillary Clinton is scheduled to testify. Epstein's accountant, his lawyer, people from his inner circle, all of them are going to be questioned. If Maxwell continues to plead the Fifth, Congress could grant her immunity and compel her testimony. But that would mean she couldn't be prosecuted for anything she admits to, which is also problematic. Or they could hold her in contempt of Congress, but she's already in prison, so what's the punishment? Meanwhile, Trump has to decide. Does he pardon Maxwell? Does he commute her sentence? Does he wait until after the congressional investigation is over? Does he ignore her offer completely? Every option has political consequences. If he pardons her, he faces massive backlash but potentially clears his name in the Epstein scandal. If he doesn't pardon her, she keeps pleading the Fifth and Congress gets nothing, but Trump avoids the controversy. It's a calculation. And here's the biggest question nobody's asking. If Maxwell really has information that exonerates Trump and Clinton, why hasn't she provided it already? She's had years to cooperate. She could have made a deal with prosecutors during her trial. She could have testified as part of a plea agreement. The fact that she's waited until now, until Trump is president and has pardon power, suggests this isn't about truth, it's about leverage. Maxwell's attorney responded to the criticism by saying, "A sitting congressman wants to punish someone for invoking a constitutional right. Sending someone to harsher confinement because they invoke a constitutional right is something we associate with authoritarian regimes, not the United States Congress." But that's a straw man argument. Nobody's saying she doesn't have the right to plead the Fifth. Of course she does. What they're saying is, you can't plead the Fifth and then turn around and offer to talk in exchange for a pardon. That's not exercising your rights. That's extortion. The whole thing is corrupt. Maxwell participated in the abuse of children. She was convicted by a jury of her peers. She's serving the sentence she deserves. And now she thinks she can trade her way out by dangling information about powerful men. It's outrageous, and it exposes how broken our system is. Rich, powerful, connected people always seem to find a way out. They always seem to have leverage. They always seem to know something or someone that can help them escape justice. Meanwhile, regular people who commit far less serious crimes serve their full sentences with no hope of clemency. So, what can you do about this? First, contact your senators. Tell them to support Senator Rosen's resolution. Tell them to publicly oppose any clemency for Maxwell. Make your voice heard. Second, share this video. People need to know what's happening. This isn't getting enough coverage. Third, stay informed. Subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be following this story every step of the way. Comment below. Do you think Trump will pardon Maxwell? Should he? Do you believe she has information that clears Trump and Clinton? Or is this just a convicted criminal trying to lie her way out of prison? I read every comment. This is one of the most corrupt deals in modern political history. Ghislaine Maxwell participated in horrific crimes against children. And now she thinks she can walk free by offering to say what Trump wants to hear. It's disgusting, it's wrong, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and demand accountability. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you found this informative, share it with everyone you know, and I'll see you in the next video.